He has taken a lot of pain to come down all the way here. He had a very long day and hectic day to take some time out and come down all the way here. So, magician and author. Vadva is an inspiration for startups and he is entrepreneurship. His insights on global trends, the future of work and diversity entrepreneurship. His insights on global trends, the future of work and diversity. We're thrilled to have him as our esteemed guest and look forward to have a great session. To the fireside chat with Mr. Vadva, I would like to take this opportunity to give a small introduction. Started and so the vision of our chapter is to establish a destination for semi-urban and rural entrepreneurs. So those are the three founders. Sridhar is not part of TiE and Strata amongst us, and we also have other startup amongst us as well. From the world, not just from India, thanks to Raju Garu. So we keep getting people like them. They share their amazing stories. We get to learn a lot of things. We get to know what their thought process. It's a great opportunity to dive into their minds and understand how they think and how they function. And we also do tailor-made training sessions for our members. We call it as RM. The reason why we call it as tailor-made because the challenges of family-run business are completely different to tech businesses. So the kind of sessions we do is mostly on how to build a successful team. A lot of sessions we do is on finance, on GST, and a lot of feedback we get from our members, and whatever feedback we get, we try and do the training sessions for. We also have industrial tours where we go to companies in and around Hyderabad. We try and get to see the best practices of them, and we come back and see how we can put them into work at our own organizations. TiE Sangat, well, let me take this opportunity to invite everybody for the 2023 TiE Sangat, which is on 27th of January. This happens at Presidency High School, and it is at the Everest campus. It's on 27th January. It's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So TiE Sangat, it's an annual dinner reception. So this is the platform where we showcase what Nizamabad is all about. So we try and showcase the diversity that we have, the opportunities that people have to invest here. And it is a very fun night with a lot of great food and some great delegates coming part of it. So you're going to have a really great night. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure you block your calendars, but we're going to send you an official invite soon. Startup Yatra, TiE Nizam. So this is something we have done for college-going students. Startup Yatra and TiE Icon. TiE Icon is where we have a special program for college-going students where they can build a solid business plan from a very small idea. So we try and give them access to training sessions and also get them in touch with the entrepreneurs where they can help them out by mentoring as well. Moving on, the impact. So let me tell you a brief story of how TiE Nizamabad actually impacted me. So I moved down to Nizamabad in 2015 to take care of my family business. So where we are having our session. So this is my family business. Initially when I came down, my father was the only friend and he was the only go-to person for me. So I was escaping Nizamabad whenever I used to get a chance. But then one day Mr. Hiten came to me and then he said, there's a chapter called TiE, and when he introduced me to the members, I was really excited. Because finally I could talk to people who could understand my language. I could talk to them the kind of issues that I'm going through, and surprisingly, most of these issues have been solved by the existing entrepreneurs who have been here for a very long time. And since most of you from here, you see Jalpan by Kapila in the lawn, that is one of the products where I built by getting a lot of feedback from TiE Nizamabad members. So this community. So we don't have any official terminology like type cohort or CEO club or anything like that. But on a very raw form, we have that trust between the members. We still have those small cohorts where we believe in each other, we share our ideas. Before time, this didn't exist. Hi. So yeah, I mean, that's my story. Like that's how TiE Nizamabad helped me, and that is one of the reasons why I took the presidency. So I am the second president of TiE Nizamabad, and it's a great pleasure to give back to the community because I know how this chapter has helped me a lot. Moving on. Next. Yeah, so these are some of the startups that we have from TiE Nizamabad. Cab. So we have few of them in the audience. One is Whitewash House Laundry, which is run by Kurade over here. Dubbed up by Akash Babu. I don't know where is he. Yeah, there. Farm Chakra again. So this Farm Chakra is a product from TiE Nizamabad. So it's a group of four founders. Mr. Ravish, Ajit, Gaurav and Shravya. So these four are the one who actually started Farm Chakra. If you guys want to know more about any of these startups, we have a networking dinner, please get in touch with them. They all have great stories. So opportunities. IT, since Nizamabad shares borders with Karnataka and Maharashtra, there's a lot of diversity. There are people who have settled down in Nizamabad from different parts of India. So with the kind of diversity that we have, there's a lot of scope for people to invest here because of the multilingual support that we have here. So that's a very big positive thing that we can take from here. And we also have a Tika Data, which is an online annotation company, which has been set up in a very small village. So yeah, so IT is one thing that there is a lot of opportunities here. And agriculture, well, I've got some data over here, so I'm not really good at that. So I'm going to read out whatever I've written over here. Nizamabad has more than 4 lakh acres under cultivation, and Nizamabad produces more than 2,500 crores of paddy and trades around 2,500 crore of turmeric. Nizamabad only processes 15% of its agri-produce. With turmeric, less than 1% is processed, which is produced in Nizamabad. So there's a lot of scope in agriculture. So thanks to Farm Chakra, that's the first thing that we have. But there's still a lot of scope if people still want to, start innovating in that area. Healthcare, well, Nizamabad is known as the hub of the northern Telangana because of the proximity and the kind of the borders that we share. Wildlife, well, this is something I wish the main person of the wildlife was part of us, but I think he is enjoying somewhere in Masai Mara. So yeah, so wildlife is something, we have a person called Santosh, who is a founder of a school called NGS. So during COVID, he just went around in Nizamabad, he just started exploring and he found some of the most amazing migratory birds along with black bucks, and he was also fortunate to spot a leopard. So he started sharing all of this with a lot of people, and government, for some reason, it landed in government's hand, and then things went going down south by poaching a lot of black bucks. So that's when we thought of forming NEWS as a society, which is Nizamabad Environment and Wildlife Society. So what we want to do with the NEWS is we want to try and protect whatever small wildlife we have here and try and make sure once we start protecting, I'm pretty sure the wildlife keeps going. So that's it. I think Rajendra is showing some videos. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, Crest, I'm pretty sure a lot of people know about this, a lot of people have heard in the news. So it's called Kanwal Reiki Rural Entrepreneurship and Startup Center. So we're really excited to have this in Nizamabad, and centers of such excellence will only help in growing Nizamabad. Yeah, so what we are looking for is we want a stronger network from entrepreneurs who are part of non-tech or a family business backgrounds, because that is where most of our members, their background is, and we are looking for more expertise in those areas. So it will be great to have people from those backgrounds. Yeah. So I would like to ask a couple of people from the audience who can talk about how TiE Nizamabad has impacted their growth over the years. Can you?
Page shows, he was talking about how Indian population was just 6% in the year 2000, and they had 15.5% of tech startups in Silicon Valley. So the reason you went to Silicon Valley to find out what was happening, and you realized that networking was how Indians were helping out Indians, and that's how 6% of Indian population was able to have 15.5% stake in the tech firm. So the same happened here as well. In Farm Chakra, we produce about 120 quintals of sweet corn. So, and we were like, sweet corn is 120 quintals, right? Now, no one's going to process sweet corn. Sweet corn is usually eaten by people. They're like, what to do? Then Jalpan came in to help, and that was again a network from TiE that helped us. I was like, Bharat, we have 120 quintals. Like, don't worry, we just freeze it inside in Jalpan. So if you eat any corn pizzas now, there's a corn produced there. And the same happened. So we also expanded to 250 acres, and we were looking for lands. So multiple people, Korode right here, he also helped us procure 70 acres of land. Again, all of this came from networking, and that's how TiE has helped us a lot. That was. Thank you.
Not only TiE members, I think we have people who are not part of TiE who are actually impacted, and I'm pretty sure Manish, if you can please talk about that. Maybe a line or two.
For Kakatiya Sandbox or any service that I want to take from this entire region, I know the owners of all those businesses are part of TiE Nizamabad. So there is trusted source that I can go to directly and source the best product at the best price with the best services available. Beyond work, this is also a family that I have in order to play cricket, play card games, hang out over Christmas. This is my gang to go to, because I come from North India. I don't speak the local language here, but thankfully the local language of this group is also not Telugu. So I'm very thankful for that as well.
That's a brief introduction about TiE Nizamabad. If any one of you have any queries, you can get in touch with me. I am available for the entire night, so we can catch up on dinner as well. So now let me introduce Monica. Can you talk something?
My hometown Nizamabad, and I wanted to do something in Nizamabad. That's when I found a great organization by Funny and Raju Garu. And I started volunteering for TiE Nizamabad. So it has been a great learning experience for me, and to also be part of a non-metro and see many startups which are not just in tech, and it has helped me in many ways, and both personally and professionally. Thank you.
Now let me introduce to the, I'm pretty sure everybody wants to know what these things actually do. So we have the founder here, his name is Mr. Vamshi Krishna. So I'll hand it over to you, and he can explain what exactly all this is.
My name is Vamshi. I'm the founder of Meduolent. This is B2B e-commerce platform where I am building. But let me start with my experience why I have started this startup. So when I am pursuing my 8th standard, my father got some health issues. So for the treatment of him, we actually went to Hyderabad, because Nizamabad we don't have that much medical equipment that time. So we went to Hyderabad, but unfortunately we lost him. So again, what happened to me, because after my father lost, family burden came to my shoulders. So I have started working in a medical shop as a part-time salesman. So after completing 9th standard, I couldn't able to continue with my studies because family issues came to. There are a lot of liabilities with my family. So I have continued with my work. Then I have started working full-time in medical shop. Then I worked with medical distributors for 8 years, pharmaceutical distributor. Then I have started working as a medical representative in one of small company. One of the manager given opportunity by seeing my skills, selling skills. Then I proved myself. I started working with MNC companies also. Even I worked with Sun Pharma, Modi Pharma from UK, JB Chemicals, and Healthier Medtech. These are MNC companies. So my last assignment was regional manager for Telangana and AP. So seeing this all 18 years, I have seen one challenge which is actually facing by doctors and healthcare fraternity in rural. That is non-availability of medical devices, medical equipment and rare drugs which is not available in district headquarters. They always depends in Hyderabad, Mumbai and Delhi to get it all the devices from cities. So what happened here? And one more biggest challenge in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities is facing is multi-vendor management, because running one hospital they actually dependent on 50 to 100 vendors. They are actually maintaining all the data and all. So this is one more challenge I have seen in the market, and one more is delivery time. Obviously from Nizamabad we have to get from Hyderabad, it will take 3 days. Even we are using cargo, TSRTC cargo. If we are using conventional transportation, it will take 1 week. So seeing these all problems, I have started this venture called Medcart, where I am building e-commerce. Here I am giving complete accessibility, availability of medical devices, equipment, refurbed equipments and rare pharmaceutical drugs. They have to do is they have to go with my portal, and they want to purchase anything, they can purchase in my portal, which is completely seamless. Till now this is completely unorganized market maintained by local vendors. So where I am doing this, because you have to excuse me with my English because I only studied 9th standard. So, but I have experience, this is my passion, this is my responsibility to give medical accessibility, affordability and availability of goods to rural part of India. We all know 70% of people is living in rural India. So this is my company. We got recognition from DPIIT and Telangana Startup, and we got grants from MEITI, under MEITI, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And in Digital India Week, I went to Ahmedabad and met Modi ji also. That's where we started this drone deliveries. Initially, I don't have any idea about drones because I am not offered to get drones. So I thought to give accessibility through my portal, which is included technology. So, but there the MEITI team suggested me to go with drones. That is this actually planned by MEITI. So there I bought this company called PISA. We are actually doing collaboration work in Telangana. But recently I got opportunity to go with Northeast. Northeast Association chairman contacted me in LinkedIn. So we are in a discussion. Most probably we are starting in operations in Manipur, I think February and March. And Tiny Nizamabad, this is I'm very happy to have a Tiny Nizamabad because I don't have any idea about we have this kind of sandbox and Tiny Nizamabad. That's where I went to Hyderabad. I got accelerated in Hyderabad University as per Bionest. Then I incubated in SRX Warangal and Naibar Hyderabad. But this is my family. Actually, Nizamabad people, when I see in any conference, I feel that this is my family. I have a strength, support, everything. Yeah. Thanks, Nizamabad and Sandbox. We are using these drones for logistics, deliveries. Recently, we came to every news channel. We are the only company in India using drones in medical supply chain. Nobody is using till now.
What is the range of this drone?
So they can travel to 100 kilometers. The payload capacity is very less. 1 kg it can lift. Because and we are getting one more VTOL. This is VTOL, vertical takeoff and land flights. So we are getting one more bigger VTOL that can lift up to 7 kgs, but it can travel at a stretch 200 kilometers. That is multi-rotor drone. We call it as a Maruti 2.0 that can lift 20 kgs. Then travel time would be 40 kilometers. Every 40 kilometers we have to change battery. So we actually what we do is suddenly we can't deliver it to the drones because we have to visit warehouse to delivery place. One day before people will go to there and they'll completely fix mission through GPS and 4G. Then only we can able to deliver that.
With the coming of road infrastructure improvements in the most transparent.
That we found each other, maybe it's later. So the beauty of this chapter is you can talk in any language. If you know Gujarati, if you know Kutchi, I mean there are a lot more languages here, so it doesn't have to be English at all. It's Mana Nizamabad, so tension and live my. Okay. So now, I'll hand over the mic to Shravya. She's the one who's going to curate the fireside chat.
Islamabad with Vivek. I was in a Thai Hyderabad group and there was a lot of noise about why is Vivek not speaking in Hyderabad. I invited a lot of people from there and we have some in the audience with us. Entrepreneurship itself is a very lonely journey and doing it in a tier 2 town amplifies the challenges. But this community here is for people like Vamshi and it's so amazing and inspiring to see the path that you have taken. All the best to you and we're here to support you in any way we can. I grew up in this town and I waited to get out, but I came back and I've been here for 8 years. I never thought we'd have people like Vivek Vadva here in Nizamabad on the 1st of January. So thanks for giving us a great start, Vivek. We'd love to have you over on the stage so we can chat. Vivek is from India, but he relocated to the US fairly early in his life. Vivek would love to know how your childhood was. And,
my father was in the foreign service, so we were abroad all the time. So I come as a foreigner, more or less.
He was his as in. Should we use only one mic? No. Vivek traversed through careers. He was an entrepreneur and then and he did Bollywood in the middle for a while, and then he's an academician and then an author, and he's a researcher. I would love to know how you jumped across through all these careers, but a lot more about your Bollywood journey.
Yeah, Bollywood was an accident because my son Vinay came here to visit his Nana Ima and Nanaji. And then he got a modeling gig with Stetson James. And then he says, Dad, I want to be a movie star. My wife said, oh my God, what a disaster. So rather than fighting him, because that's the problem, if you fight your children, you lose. What I did was I had a film producer come to me over there who was married to Kashmira Shah, the second-tier actress. And he wanted to produce a movie called My Bollywood Bride. So I got some of my friends to fund it and got involved with it. And by the time we were done, my son said, Dad, I don't want to have anything to do with Bollywood. For example, he was very excited about Bipasha Basu. He had a crush on her in the movie Jism. And then when he met Bipasha Basu, he says, Dad, that's not Bipasha Basu from Jism. I said, that's Bipasha Basu. We met Mahima Chaudhary, and Mahima Chaudhary was so crude that he's saying, what's wrong with her? She talks like, these women, Jimadarnis is what he said, because that's how she was talking. It was just shocking to see what Bollywood is made of. And then this guy, Brad Esterman, who produced the movie, ended up ripping off the investors, and it was a complete disaster. So, but the good thing was that it fulfilled the purpose. When he left Bollywood, he never wants to be part of it again. But in the meantime, I also came here, here. I hung out with all the movie stars, went to their parties. It was fun while it lasted.
Can you guys hear? Vivek took his first company public, and then he did another startup called Sears Network. Can you talk about your early years of entrepreneurship? How was it different from your second startup?
This was in the days of enterprise software. So the first company, Sear Technologies, we took from 0 to 120 million in revenue in 5 years. Big success, took it public, then big disaster. The lesson is just sell the company when it becomes successful. Don't try to run a public company.
Maybe keep it closer. We can.
So, it was a success. It wasn't a success. Then I started my own company, Relativity Technologies. And we were doing really well until we weren't doing well, until the dot-com bubble burst. And
Sorry,
$24 million in revenue within 3 years. And then the dot-com bubble burst. I ended up working day and night, burning myself out, had a massive heart attack, and said, okay, it's time to do something different. My wife said, Vivek, you have to leave the tech industry now. That's what the doctor said also. So that's when I became an academic. It was basically forced on me because of the damage that my heart had sustained being a tech entrepreneur. So this is a lesson for you folks also. Don't burn yourself out. because you have to maintain a balance, and I mean, it's not fun to die. So then I became an academic, and the problem was in academia in the United States in particular, they don't respect anyone who doesn't have a PhD. So I started publishing my own research, and academia was very nervous about me. I mean, Duke University, the first research report I published was on engineering education in India and China versus the United States. So much that Duke issued a disclaimer on the front page of this thing saying, we really, this guy is part of our faculty, but we really don't know him. That was what it was. And that paper became so famous that President Bush called up my team, invited my team to the State of the Union address, and it was featured worldwide. So then the academic defense systems kicked in, the antibodies. They tried to get me kicked out of academia. And fortunately, one of the top economists at Harvard, Richard Freeman, who was on these discussion groups we were having, he invited me to Harvard. And he says, "Hey, come and join my team over here, my faculty." So I went from, I could never have got admission to Harvard or even Duke University. I was just a flunky. And now I was at Duke and Harvard at the same time. And I became so tainted with all this negative attacks on me. I said I have to do more. So every university came to me, offered me a distinguished fellowship. I took it. And then my wife wanted to be in Silicon Valley, so I went to Berkeley, and I basically asked them for a fellowship, and then Stanford, and then Singularity University. So I was at 6 universities at the same time. That was my revenge for academia trying to hold me back. I became more famous in academia than I was even in the tech entrepreneur, even though I had thousands of articles. If you Google my name, you literally see 1 million articles. Because I had tens of thousands of articles, hundreds of thousands of articles when I was a tech entrepreneur. I was playing a game. I was building momentum. And then in academia, again, hundreds of thousands of articles. So that was it was just my revenge against the academia.
Vivek, you would have met many students and entrepreneurs in your career. If you had to bucket them, what kind of buckets would you categorize the entrepreneurs?
Most of them want to work for Infosys or TCS or these stupid tech companies, and I advise them not to do it. It's not worth it. Your job's not going to last very long because ChatGPT can generate entire coding systems right now, and it isn't going to be long before a lot of these day-to-day programming jobs completely disappear. In the next year or two, you're going to have a major impact. So when I was in Delhi with some of my relatives, I had a bunch of students come to me. And Ram, this is a lesson for you also. Don't think of joining Infosys or TCS. Forget these old-time companies. Learn machine learning, because that's going to be a hot opportunity. And then in India, there's also going to be a massive semiconductor industry. That itself, starting salaries in VSLM or whatever, VSLI, are going to be in the $100 to $200,000 in India. So by the time they build the billion-dollar industry platforms, things will have changed. So this is what I advise these students to do: was don't go the traditional, don't do standard computer science. So that's one set of students in India. In the United States, my classes I teach exponential technologies, and what we used to do was turn my son Tarun was teaching with me. We used to turn entrepreneurs into we used to turn students into entrepreneurs who would solve billion-dollar companies. They would build billion-dollar companies and create new industries. That's what I was teaching to my students at Carnegie Mellon, and then to business executives. So new innovation methods, exponential technologies. The message that I convey is that technology is now on an exponential path. That this device here has more computing power than the great supercomputers which could not be imported into India in the 1970s and 80s. This is more powerful than 100 great supercomputers. And this is getting even faster and faster. So it's not one technology, it's every technology is advancing exponentially. Anything that becomes information-based starts advancing exponentially. Therefore, we're going to have more disruption in the 2020s than we've had in the 200 years before this. In this decade, we're going to have more disruption than literally the past 200 years. Because you're going to see industry after industry being decimated and new industries arising. And this is an opportunity for all the entrepreneurs here. that you know, if you can jump ahead into this future, you own the future. I mean, you can literally build billion-dollar companies over here. And we should talk about how we you know, take this a couple of steps above, because Raju's done a wonderful job with Kathak Kiya. Yeah. But it's time now to take it to the next level. How can you now turn this into a hub of global innovation? And it's possible.
Small businesses across the world employ a major chunk of workforce, and even in a country like US, 50% of the GDP and 50% of the workforce is in small businesses, and in India also the numbers are very big. Where do you see traditional businesses go over the next 10 years? And you know, what do you think small businesses should do in a country like India to stay relevant, to grow, to scale, and to contribute to the economy?
I'm going to become what I call toast, because so much change happening that I can go through industry after industry and discuss what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years. So you might be doing very well right now, whatever business you're in, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. Because if ChatGPT can now generate entire sections of code, entire apps, entire applications, and it can correct errors in applications, and all this happened in 2021. So within a year, you had this crazy technology. In my last article in Fortune magazine, I talked about how I used ChatGPT and generated the entire article. So my co-author was ChatGPT. I just gave it my notes and said, write this article for me, and it wrote the article for me. So journalist jobs also are under threat. Not every job, but about half of them, which, because a lot of what you see in the local press here is just the same old BS. They're just taking press releases and doing it. Well, all of this stuff can be automated now using ChatGPT. So again, industry after industry, I look at, I see major changes happening, and what I say is that disruption means there's opportunity. That you can lead the disruptions. You can build new, entirely new industries and lead the disruptions, and this can be done anywhere in the world. Because Ram, I mean, he's just a kid right now, but he could learn ChatGPT, and he'll probably master it better than the old guys in the room, because he has no inhibitions, and it's that easy to learn. And so entrepreneurs here have access to the same technologies that we do in Silicon Valley, and they're practically free. That's the beauty of advancing technologies.
To give everyone a little bit of background about ChatGPT-3, especially the parents in this group, right? Most of you are worried about your kids opening Google and copying an assignment. With ChatGPT-3, they can generate unique answers. So they don't even have to search. They just have to copy and nobody will even detect it. So it's a nightmare for parents who are worried about their kids, but it's a very advanced technology, and in Islamabad, we've had instances where some of us have been worried about writing, copywriting, or marketing, creating posters, and all of that just becomes easy with ChatGPT-3. You just have to give it a question saying, create a poster for Diwali to send it to my customers, and then it'll give you language.
And do my homework for me.
Yeah, and do my homework for me on drone technology in rural India, and then you have unique answers. So it's free and it's available to anybody. So beware, parents. But that said, as entrepreneurs, it's also a difficult time because you really have to constantly keep learning and pushing yourself and get over the friction that builds as we all age with time. So Vivek writes very openly about anything he feels strongly about, and sometimes you do get criticized for that, and which is a part of life. So in some of our sessions here, because most of us work with families, right? And there's a lot of criticism that comes from the top, and it stops us from challenging the person who's criticizing us. We'd love to know how you handle it so that we have some things to take away from the way you work around this.
Except that I'm going to piss people off. And don't read my article if you don't want to. So I mean, most recently I've been ripping into Elon Musk, because I knew Elon Musk. He was my dear friend. He got me my Tesla out of turn in 2012. I mean, I was 5,600 on the list. He got me bumped to number 104. And then I wrote several articles defending Elon Musk. So, and we went out drinking also when I was in Los Angeles. So that's how well I knew him. And now I'm absolutely ripping into him because he's gone crazy. The drugs are destroying his brain. That he's actually on hard drugs, so a combination of them. And he's gone to the extreme. You know, in America, the right wing is as dangerous as the right wing in India is. So you have the extreme elements. He's gone to the extreme elements, spreading conspiracy theories. He's attacking Anthony Fauci one day. Then he's attacking the New York Times, Washington Post, the media another day. He purchased Twitter and destroyed Twitter. I tried tweeting, a couple of times today. He kept crashing on me. So India has become a third-class citizen on Twitter because Musk has destroyed the company practically. So they've now been brutal in attacking him. So if he doesn't like it, I mean, the last email exchange I had with him, I was warning him to get off Twitter. I said, it's going to destroy you, destroy your reputation. And look at what happened. The stock price of Tesla dropped 75%. And his reputation is completely been demolished because it was the left wing of America that was into clean energy. The right wing hates clean energy, basically. It's big oil, they're big fans of that and nuclear. They don't want solar and wind and electric vehicles. So now he's sucking onto the most extreme right-wing constituencies. And the people that bought his cars hate him. So this is why for the first time ever, Tesla has dropped prices by $7,500. But during COVID, you couldn't get a Model S or a Model X, Y, or a 3. The lines were a year and a half. Now you can get a car immediately, literally off the shelf, and get a $700 discount because people started canceling the orders. The resale value of Tesla has dropped dramatically. So this is how he's destroyed his company. And I've been ripping into him, and if he doesn't like it, big deal, I don't care. So that's how I am about everything. That I'm going to say what I want to say. If you don't like it, then whatever. So I get attacked on Twitter, and I attacked left, right, and center, but I don't care.
Be strong and do your thing confidently, I guess.
Those are big controversy.
Yeah. So Vivek has also been working with the government in Chile, and the Startup Chile adopted a very different methodology. Usually we hear government talking about let's bring infrastructure, let's bring parks and tech parks to the smaller towns or to the cities to grow entrepreneurship. But Vivek had a very different approach, and I'd love for you to talk about that.
In 2009, I was invited by the President of Chile to come there and review their IT clusters. Their goal was to take on India and become an outsourcing hub. I went there. They flew me first class. They took me to the vineyards. I mean, it was amazing. The VIP treatment I got to shake hands with the President of Chile. And then after reviewing it, I said, you guys are nuts. You're trying to compete with India in IT. You're a country of 14 million people. It's like India trying to compete with you in copper. India doesn't have copper. You don't have people. So I wrote an article for Business Week, very polite article saying Chile's outsourcing challenge. I explained it. And that created a disaster for the president in Parliament because Parliament, they were because they said, okay, these two professors telling us they were wasting billions of dollars on this. So the economics minister of Chile came to Stanford to meet me, and he said, Vivek, you really made my life very hard. So I said, Juan Fontaine, what do you want me to lie to you? I'm not going to lie to you. The deal for me coming here, it wasn't that I'm going to lie to you or tell you what you didn't want to hear. There were no conditions whatsoever, and I told you the truth. So he said, okay, what should we do? I said, now you're talking. I wish we had this discussion when I was in Chile, and you didn't have to come here all the way. I said, well, the problem with Chile is that its culture is primitive. It doesn't, most of the companies there are like what you have in Islamabad, that family-owned businesses, small businesses, they're afraid of taking risks. The culture wasn't conducive to entrepreneurship. So I said, let's import them from America. They're leaving because of the horrible visa situation. So let's bring them to Chile. So Juan Fontaine said, no one will come to Chile. I said, give them $50,000, give them office space, and they'll come. He came back and said, okay, spend $1 million on your project. So we did that. We basically offered $40,000 actually, to startups to move to Chile. And they were shocked that when I wrote an article for TechCrunch, they were flooded with applications. They expected, they only had 25 slots. they had about 200 applications. And they brought the entrepreneurs there. And within 5 years, The Economist did a front page story calling it Silicon Valley. They called it the most successful innovation effort in the world. So this is what we need to do over here. But because when we were talking in the drive over here, I said, what would I do differently? What I would do differently is turn this into a Y Combinator. So not only do you provide the funding, but you see, Raju has access to who's who. In Silicon Valley, he's probably one of the top 5 most respected executives. Because unlike a lot of these people, he's not a loser. He's ethical, very decent values. People trust him. Even my wife, I lost her to cancer, but Raju was one of the few people that she really respected. Right? So what I would do is I would turn this into a Y Combinator. So you bring in entrepreneurs from all over the country over here, and then you provide them with, you literally copy the Y Combinator model, and you do it remotely. So you get, people like Anmol Ricky, and Raju knows everyone who's anyone there. You get them to adopt 3 or 4 startups each. So they mentor them remotely. So the beauty of it now is that it can be done over Zoom. 2 years ago, this wasn't possible. Right? So you could do the training, you could have all of these famous entrepreneurs and professors and so on teach classes online to these entrepreneurs, and you could really set up an innovation hub here. The goal should be to have at least 200 startups. You don't, do 25 startups, 200 startups, and you give them, 40, 50 lakh, whatever it might be, enough for them to come here, and then you tell them about the advantage that you have in Islamabad, and costs are very low compared to Bombay and New Delhi and everything, and Bangalore in particular, and then salaries are very low, and you're going to get the best mentorship available to any startup in India, because we're going to connect you with Silicon Valley's entrepreneurs. So that's the model I would implement for entrepreneurship, because a lot of people over here, they're stuck in the past. They're afraid of startups. This is why you want to get all these crazy entrepreneurs here. The majority of them will fail, but when they fail, they'll want to, get jobs because they're poor again, and they can join some of your companies, and they can teach you what they've learned, and brainstorm with you about how do you build new businesses. So you really want to bring literally 200 startups over here. You have a goal of doing it within 2 years, not in 8 years. 200 startups come here, and you go to the government, and the government will probably fund it. If you approach them and you talk about what you're doing here, you ask them to do a 50-50 partnership with private industry, they'll do it, and then you do what Y Combinator does, that you take a cut of the companies. And so it's not really, the government got 0 ownership, but there's no harm in getting 5-7% ownership in these startups. So that goes into a pool, basically. Some of these, out of 200, probably 10 or 20 will become very successful. They may even become billion-dollar companies. So that 5 or 7 or 10%, whatever might be, you have to look at the Y Combinator model. That will provide funding for the next 200 startups. And you'll see startups getting to that level within 2 years, because they will have mentoring from a who's who of Silicon Valley. No other Thai chapter anywhere in India can do what you can do here because of Raju's connections.
So there's 3 things that I hear Vivek say. One is it's people, not infrastructure, that can change a place, and we've already got that going here. Bharat moved back from Australia, and we have a lot of other examples. Korade also has done his MBA, worked somewhere else, and moved back. So we have that sort of kick-started in Islamabad, and we need more such people. And through Raju's connections, obviously we can. If we've had
financing will come here.
Yeah, so that's one thing to think about, and we're already on the right track there. The second thing is about the businesses here stretching ourselves a little bit. It's only a matter of time before some of what we do becomes irrelevant. So what should we be doing and thinking about? If you run a retail store right now, what is it going to look like in the next 10 years? Unless we start asking those questions and play our own devil's advocate, we'll probably be too late to the party if we start thinking about it in 10 years. There's already an example is retail, right? There's already so many malls that have come from metros. I'm sure that has taken a small hit to some of the existing businesses and brands in Nizamabad. So what can we do differently is a question that the entrepreneur has to ask themselves. And the third thing is We have companies like Tika Data. They want to set up something in Nizamabad, but they obviously do not have a connection to Nizamabad. And Ravi and Sandbox have helped them so much to identify simple things, right? An office, the right kind of people, where they can buy their infrastructure from. So these are things that build collaboration with businesses that are outside of Nizamabad who want to do something in here. So these are the three things I take away from that. And thanks Vivek for the aggressive target of 200 startups in the next 2 years.
And you'll get publicity all over India. Because suddenly, if Raju starts talking, Raju has to learn how to do PR. I mean, I was complaining that even his Sandbox, it's all Desh Deshpande gets all the credit. I didn't even know that Raju was the founder of it until I looked on the website. I was giving Deshpande all the credit, just like he does. This is the problem. He has to learn how to do PR and get very aggressive. Or if not Raju, then maybe you do it. I mean, but essentially, if you said that Nizamabad is going to have 200 startups in 2 years, and we're going to be funding them, we're going to be setting up a Y Combinator here with a who's of Silicon Valley, it'll be in all the newspapers. And suddenly it'll be flooded with applications. And this new building, the Crest, that 66,000 square feet, that's perfect for the entrepreneurs. You bring them all together, 200 people over there, and it'll be like lightning, electricity. The sparks fly, and entrepreneurs learn from each other, help each other, and with the mentoring that they get from the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, and then from the local community, you also connect them. So just like I'm saying that you get the Silicon Valley entrepreneurs to adapt a handful of companies, you also get some of the CEOs of local companies to adapt some companies. So in AgTech, you get the rice producer to be a mentor for you. You basically add them to your advisory board, and you give them some stock as done in Silicon Valley. And that's the way to do this then. But startups have to learn to give out stock. So for the advisory board, they have to give out 1 or 2% each to each advisor with vesting over 2 years or so. And then they have to give the Sandbox 5-7% for the facilities. So even if they have 10%, even less, they're going to get so much benefit from this. And you announce it. And I'll tell you that it will be in the news channels every day. And you'll get flooded with applications. But you have to plan this out. So you have to announce the entire thing, and you call it the Startup Chile, you call it the Y Combinator of Hyderabad. You go to the Chief Minister, he'll be excited about it. 200 startups in a little town like Nizamabad? Are you kidding? The government will be all over it. But again, you want them to do a 50-50 financing.
I love it when someone gives Raju a task to do and a big goal at that. So
He's too modest.
We also need examples like that in Nizamabad because we rarely meet success. So before I met Raju and Desh, I've not met any successful people who were modest. I've only met successful people who are arrogant. So that's a great example also to have. So
There are good people there.
yeah.
And Raju knows that he can get access to whoever he wants to. If he goes to them and says, I want you to adapt 3 to 5 startups, he'll do it because he said so.
We're on it, yeah. So Vivek also knows the who's who of India. He's met Sadhguru a few days ago. He knows Dalai Lama and he's meeting Narendra Modi. He has Mukesh Ambani and Ratan Tata and Anand Mahindra on his WhatsApp. So I'd like to know. I'm curious about what you think. How do the Ambanis work? What do they think about? How do the Mahindras work?
Agricultural technology, as I discussed, to India, and I offered it to both Mukesh Ambani and Anand Mahindra. But they were both interested. They both put their teams on it, and I told the company Plasma Waters, I said, deprioritize Mukesh Ambani because they're cutthroat, businessmen, and they'll screw you over. You won't be able to get good terms, and on the other hand, Anand Mahindra will, be very fair and reasonable. So I love Mukesh, Mukesh because he responds to my messages, and he is a very competent entrepreneur, but he prided himself on his cutthroat business tactics. So this is why I would give it second priority to them, and this is why I went to discuss with Sadhguru, because Sadhguru, I was really impressed with the talks I heard over the last 3 days, and my meeting with him, that he is actually genuinely a very competent entrepreneur. He's a business executive who happens to be a spiritual guru. And he genuinely cares about humanity. I was skeptical. I thought this guy's just a businessman. No, he is really concerned about social entrepreneurship. He's really concerned about doing well. None of the other gurus do that. They're basically, it's all money, 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 and they're building up empires. Sadhguru is giving back more than anyone else does. And he's genuine. So this is why I want to get Sadhguru to do it, and also to get Raju to bring this technology and create all sorts of new jobs with the agriculture technologies.
So Vivek also pursues inner peace and a lot of meditation and mindfulness. I've seen pictures. Okay, maybe. Yeah, I'd love to know like what triggered you to towards knowing more about the methods of Dalai Lama or meditation in general.
The loss of my wife. I mean, frankly, after I lost her in June 2019, I couldn't leave the house for months. I was completely devastated. And then what kept me going was her words saying, Vivek, I asked her if I can share genetic data. She said, if my suffering can help others, it was worth it. So she told me to help others. So I said, okay, I teach about exponential technologies and building trillion-dollar industries. I'm going to cure cancer now. So I put together a grand plan with the top scientists who tried to help me save her. And I came to meet Narendra Modi and the Dalai Lama, presented to both of them. Because the Dalai Lama is a cancer survivor, and he believes in natural medicines. And I believe that natural medicines are the key to health, particularly Ayurveda. So, and so then I came to Sri Ravi Shankar's retreat, and then I met Amma a few months ago, and then Gurudev, Sadhguru. But last 3 days I was completely wiped out. I couldn't sleep, and I didn't really learn yoga, so I'm incompetent at that. So this is why I wouldn't talk about myself being in meditation and so on. I'm a failure on all that.
Sharing that with me. I'll open up the stage to the audience. Any questions? No, not any questions. You'd love to have some questions.
We are basically an agro-based economy, and it's a very small place. So, do you think that we can carry that sort of things to Nizamabad? Like, it will work out? Because we are hopeful, like when you are telling, it's definitely a workable thing. But what will be the challenges that you pursue in this one?
Fast. So, and I can't blame you because the technology is stuck. Sri Lanka tried going into organic agriculture, and it was a disaster for the country. Right? It happens that one of the companies I invested in a decade ago was producing 100% clean water by converting water into plasma, made some breakthroughs over the COVID pandemic, in which they could do what's called plasma activated water. Sadhguru has been, this discussion I had with him. I said, Sadhguru, you've been focusing on saving the soil, using compost essentially, which is good because you have to, do that. But you have it wrong. Nature has 2 tricks up her sleeve. The backup plan is lightning. Wherever there's lightning, you have amazing growth. I mean, farmers all over the world have known this for the longest time. That when you have lightning, suddenly everything around the lightning is fertile. Because what happens is that plasma attracts to the water, and it adds a molecule to the water, which is H2O2. And when it falls in the right concentrations, it builds the immune defenses of the plants. And then when you put it through the air is 78% nitrogen. You get nitrogen species, oxygen species, and suddenly that it's more powerful than any fertilizer. So we've been testing this technology for the last year in several farms in the United States, and the results are mind-blowing. Just by washing seeds, you can get 100% growth, and the plants are much healthier. So Anand Mehra had sent sorghum seeds and cotton seeds from India. Sorghum was growing, it was flowering a week earlier than the control group. The cotton was 10% more compact, which is a good thing because it's higher quality organic cotton, which means it will fetch more money in the market. So that was just by washing seeds with this technology. So this is what I asked Shraddha, that because I'd love to see you bring some of these units here, test them out, see what happens. Take it to some of your agricultural things, because the pricing model for this technology is going to be to offer the devices for free, to charge per use. So the idea is that we'll ask farmers to pay maybe half of what they would spend in pesticide and fertilizer. So they're getting a bargain, and it's organic. which means they can charge more for their produce. So this is the sort of technology that I would like to bring over here, because that would be transformative. There's no reason why Nizamabad couldn't be ground zero for the Indian Green Revolution. You just need to have entrepreneurs getting serious about it. So you have a handful of startups here that focus on it. We get a few of these devices here and do a crash set of tests in all of these agricultural sites. So, for example, one in Yuma, Arizona, a cantaloupe farmer came to Alfredo Zalesi, who was the scientist behind this, and told him that I have a field which is not fertile anymore. This is exactly what Sadhguru has been saying, that we're depleting the soil. So Alfredo said, let's try plasma activated water over there. So they did a control group. So they actually did 10 acres to start with. They did a control group with on the soil, and only a third of the cantaloupes grew, and the plants were pretty scrawny. The plants that were washed with plasma activated water, and they were fed the plasma activated water over 2 or 3 applications. 100% growth rates, big healthy growth. Cantaloupes that were perfect. All the cantaloupes were the same size, bigger, and the farmers were making $500,000 more per acre because of the device. So now they're taking it to 1,000 acres, soon 100,000 acres, but that's the type of results we've been getting from the field.
So you mean to say that all that
technology here and work with the legacy, the agriculture companies to try to experiment with it. No cost, just see what happens, because I'm convinced that you get the same results we got in the United States. And the devices, like I said, there's no cost to it.
Thank you for that.
Probably the job market, or what is one thing which India should correct now?
I have a book called $1 Companies. It has the secrets of Silicon Valley, new methods of innovation. You should read that book. It's only like 200 rupees or something on Amazon. But if you read that book, and then there's another book called Driver the Driverless Car. There's a paperback edition, which is also about 200-300 rupees. Read that as well. So Driver the Driverless Car teaches you about all these technologies, everything from AI to quantum computing. And then from incremental to exponential teaches you how do you build trillion-dollar industries and billion-dollar companies. So you should read that. And the book walks through example after example of the type of disruptions we're going to see and why Silicon Valley has these trillion-dollar companies now. Flipkart and a bunch of sites.
Thanks, Vivek, for the session. My question to you is twofold. One is what is it won't change in the world? While you're talking so much about the change that will happen, what should we be looking as an opportunity that won't change and that we can actually study with? That's one.
Us who won't change. Even the technology is advancing exponentially, human beings are not. We haven't had a software upgrade to our brains for 50,000 years, something ridiculous. So and we're petty. We do stupid things. We fight each other. Right now, that's what Driver the Driverless Car is about. That I said that we have the opportunity to build Star Trek or get into the darkness of Mad Max. It's what the choices we make that are going to determine which future it is. The problem is it's human beings. We're completely incompetent, and that's what hasn't changed.
So second is this slide has really helped you become a very good academician, or something that you know now as an academician would have helped you as a good entrepreneur back then?
I use the same papers and I hyped the heck out of them, and I had global impact. So I use the same exact techniques in academia. This is why all the defenses went off, and they were shocked. They was literally scared of me because I was getting all this publicity. I mean, Science magazine was. My papers were published in the most prestigious magazines. So academics wait years, decades before they get a paper in a prestigious publication. And Science had 4 articles by the time I was done. And Science gave my book Driver the Driverless Car a recommendation saying it's a must read. So that created a lot of jealousy in academia because I was using the same techniques I did in entrepreneurship.
What is startup successful? I mean to say valuation or value creation?
Value. If you build something that people really want, then the VCs will be bending over backwards to invest in you. They'll come here. There isn't a venture capital system here, but if you had 200 startups here, I guarantee you that Sequoia and some of the big VC firms would now start sending some of the people here regularly to scout for investment opportunities. Because that's what works. They're like sharks. So this is like say why you have to have critical mass. If I'm saying 200, not even 20 or 50 or 100, 200 startups within 2 years. You basically have a big objective, and 200 startups within 2 years, if you're giving them free money, is not a problem. And if you're giving them mentorship and if you're now connecting them to a who's who, they'll come from all over India and even other parts of the world to be here. Because you're providing incredible value to them.
Yeah.
I don't see any barriers. The Prime Minister is touting entrepreneurship. He did this Atal Innovation Mission. It's all about entrepreneurship. Amitabh Kant, who was heading up Niti Aayog, it was all about entrepreneurship. It was they're doing the government is doing everything it can. It's the most entrepreneur-friendly government I know of. So there's no barrier. I mean, they've changed some of the laws to foster entrepreneurship, and this is why I'm saying that if Raju went to the CM and said, I want to have 200 startups here, in 2 years, 400 to 500 within 5 years, suddenly, they'll be drooling over this and they'll want to be part of it.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm going to do a small quiz with the audience. What do you think the average age of a successful entrepreneur is? Is it 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60?
40 to 50.
How many of you 20 to 30? Like late 20s? Okay, so we have 4 hands up. Late 30s. Late 40s. Yeah, it's about 40 to 45. That's the average age of a successful entrepreneur. It's not a 22-year-old who dropped out of college or. Next thing is the most of this data is global data. That's what I'm assuming. Where do the entrepreneurs raise the most money from? Is it VCs? Is it friends, family, savings, their own personal savings? And what's that? Bank, loan from the bank. VCs. Where do most entrepreneurs raise money from? Venture capital. How many of you? Their own personal savings. Bank, credit. Friends and family. So actually it's their own personal savings. That's where most of the entrepreneurs raise their money from. So this information is very relevant for us because we keep listening to, on the media, there's a lot of noise about raising funding and how that's one big thing that can change the game of your startup or your business, but that's not it. You can use your own personal savings to grow your company or start a company. Any last questions? Yeah.
You should tell people don't do these things.
But you have to do it yourself. You have to realize that you don't have the skills necessary to build companies. You surround yourself with people who succeeded and who failed, and you have to get advisors to the company. And then don't waste time with venture capitalists. They will not invest in you because all these big VCs, they receive hundreds and hundreds of applications. They waste tremendous amount of time doing market intelligence, and then they reject practically every one of them. They'll invest in 10 or 20 companies a year, and that also, when the company doesn't need funding, it becomes successful on its own. So there's no point in going to the VCs. This is what I'm saying, that if you can give them some small seed financing and give them the office space, because this is the sales pitch for Nizamabad, that your costs are low, will provide you with seed funding, and will provide you with access to a who's who, including other entrepreneurs. So the networks, and it'll basically create a mini Silicon Valley here, including the Y Combinator lessons with the who's who. So those are the type of things you have to think of.
My dear friend Vivek, it's amazing. This guy had at least 3 sleepless nights and then flew into Hyderabad to drive another 3 hours to come to Nizamabad and do this session, the same day that he's done all that. I think it was about a couple months ago when we were at an event in Silicon Valley when the ambassador, he came to the Bay Area and the local consul general, by the way, he's been a big fan of the Sandbox, the local consul general, Dr. Nagendra Prasad. he hosted an event and Vivek and I were just sitting next to each other and we started talking about, going to India, and he said, hey, maybe you can come to Nizamabad. And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, there are a couple of these dates and let's see, that still holds. Actually, my schedule wasn't as certain. And then I reached out to Shravya saying, hey, I mean, here is Vivek, obviously most people would know of him, and Shravya certainly did. And do you think there would be a match, with the Nizamabad community? And he said, enough. She said, no, absolutely, we should seize on that. So thanks to Shravya for again, many of you were here when Kanwal was in the same hall, just, that was last month? 11th of December, that's right, yeah, about 3 weeks ago. It's extraordinary, just think about it. Kanwal, and then 3 weeks later Vivek shows up at the same place. I think Shravya said that it's true. This doesn't happen in Bangalore or Hyderabad or any other city in India by and large, right? But I think there is something common between the two messages. Kanwal, talks about this 1% of India startups. Today we have about 100,000. How do we get to million startups by the end of this decade? And 10 million by the time India turns 75. That has kind of been his message, right? And so basically entrepreneurship, needs to be a movement, and the government and everything we do needs to sort of unleash the entrepreneurs. And Vivek's message was very similar. He was getting to, of course, the next level of specificity. Hey, 200 startups in 2 years in Nizamabad. And, just looking at the participation and what I've seen, how Thai Nizamabad has grown, there's very little doubt that we will get there. Whether it happens in 2 years, 20 months or 3 years, I don't know. With the Crest announcement, that's already happening. Just a few data points I wanted to share. Is the IIT Basar Agni, is he here? Hello, yeah, thank you for coming here. Sorry, I forget your name.
Dr. Chandrasekhar.
Dr. Chandrasekhar, give him a big hand. I don't know how many of you know this, but this actually dawned on me only 3 days ago. I was at IIT Basar. It's if you look at the average, how would you measure how smart the kids are, right? Can you shut that off? Sorry. The top 1,500 students from all the government schools in Telangana go to IIT Basar at the end of 10th class. So it's only those who cannot make it to IIT Basar that then apply to IITs and BITS and NITs, all those other colleges. It's extraordinary. That university, that college is only 20 miles from here. And these are all kids who are coming from the small towns and from really disadvantaged communities and all that. In fact, one of them told me these kids, so it's a 6-year program. After 10th, they go into 2 years, complete that, and then complete a 4-year degree. These are all from the government schools. And many of them come from the communities where they don't even go home for the holidays because they can't afford the bus fares, right? And so these are the kids who absolutely are the closest to the problems in rural India. When you talk about agri problems or livelihoods, any of that. And so we've got this is a real gold mine of talent that we got just 20 miles away on the banks of Godavari. Beautiful, there is a Saraswati temple there. And I often tell people in Nizamabad, we believe the path to Lakshmi is through Saraswati, right? Through knowledge, basically. So I think there are a lot of things we sometimes ignore. I mean, I didn't realize that myself till 3 or 4 days ago, that these are absolutely the brightest of the bright students that come out every year, from the state. So there are a lot of things that I can go on, the agri-tech, we are working with the turmeric farmers, some of you know, Manish of course, we are so glad to have Manish as our CEO, a young man from Gorakhpur, and again, he's a NIT Trichy grad, he could have done any number of things outside, right? And there's, each one of you I think has a story like that. So the opportunity is very real, and thank you Vivek for coming here and sort of sparking that, possibilities that Manish referred to. And once again, Shravya, thank you so much for doing such a fantastic job. I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
It changed my experience and how I view Nizamabad. It rewrote all the memories I have from my past, and I love the new version of Nizamabad a lot more. Thank you, Vivek, for being here with us today and igniting that spark so that we all can think big. And there is this article I read many years ago by a professor from Harvard Business School. He talks about how every business has 3 things to do. He calls it Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. Shiva is you destroy the things that are not working for you. It's work that you need to do to stop things that are not working. 2 is Vishnu is figure out what is giving your current revenue, continue doing that well. 3rd, which is most important, which very, very few companies do, is Brahma, which is create new projects, work on innovation, think big, see how you can stay relevant. So Vivek's time with us here has given us a lot to think about, and I hope we'll reach the 200 startups from this community here itself in the next few years. Thank you, Vivek. Let me give every visitor here from Nizamabad. It is mostly produced that's grown here, processed here. Yeah, okay. Sure. This hall didn't look like this a few years ago. It had green paint and not many lights. We did one Thai session here a few years ago, and Bharat's transformed this place. Nobody even thinks that this is Nizamabad when they sit here. So thanks, Bharat, for giving this wonderful place.
Shravya, thanks, Mr. Vivek. We're really looking forward for the next speaker, because after Kanwal and Vivek, I don't know who's going to come next. We are going to disrupt the entire Nizamabad for sure. And yeah, let's call for a group photo and then we can break out for dinner. To have Mr. Vivek's photo, so anybody who wants to have his autograph, please get to him. Thank you.